Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's your favorite leather craftsman, the leather cowboy, right here in the Dirty South. The Dirty South is where I lay my head at Premier Leather Craft Studios. Just come back with another video for you guys. One, I am going to be walking you guys through finishing the beer mug, the custom leather beer mug, as well as we're going to be talking about the custom leather hats, which we have designed right here, and just going over some other tips and things. I'm going to be giving you guys some secrets and tips, not just on leather crafting, but I saw today that this is an absolute sin, ladies and gentlemen. Do not do this to your tools. Please don't. So, but it reminded me, I have some leftover deer hide that where I covered an ottoman for a customer, and I have some leftover deer hide. So I'm going to be making I'm going to do another video, and I'm going to show you how to make your very own custom tool pouch. Now, and again, most of the videos, a few of the videos that I make are not just for leather crafting, but it's also how to make your leather crafting experience overall a lot better. Make sure my mic is still on. Yes. One is when you can do stuff like that for yourself, it makes your experience a whole lot better, because my motto is, and if you guys have been following me for any length of time, my motto is to minimize your spending on the front end to maximize your profits on the back end. So, and when we do that, not just in the leather crafting world, but in any business, when you can minimize your expenses, it will always maximize your profits, because you learn how to, and the more you do that, the more you get more efficient, proficient, and better. And then it's doing a lot with a little bit. So, but this is an absolute no-no. One, because metal on metal, metal can damage other metal. And so when you're having your stamping tools, this is our bread and butter. Now, I mean, I just don't go jamming them in there. Now, don't get me wrong. But this is still basically, a lot of people will say, well, look, how can you tell me how to do anything when you're not doing it yourself? So I'm going to lead by example, and that will be another video here in the near future, to where I'm going to show you guys how to make your own custom tool pouch, to where, and ladder, I mean, that deer hide is perfect for it. It's soft enough. And then you can, once you put your tools in there, you can just roll it up, latigo lace, you can tie it off and keep it protected. Now, unless you have a friend that's in the wood crafting industry, which is even better, you can always swap it out, make them a belt, or something like that, a custom tool belt, so he can customize you a tool holder. You got some 1x4. I mean, not 1x4s, but some if you got a 2x4 or a 4x4 block, if he got some scrap pieces laying around his shop where he's built a table or something like that, you can take that and then attach some 1x2s on the side, to where you can angle it and see what tools you need to pull. And then, everything else is just drilling the holes to where you can just slip them right into that particular slot. So they don't even have to be the same size holes as your tools, because you can see your shafts vary in size. But what you can do is take a nice, maybe 3/8 drill bit, and drill all of your holes a 3/8 size, which is a nice size bit. Then you can put 2 or 3 tools into the same hole. So all of your backgrounding tools will go into the same slot. All of your bevelers will go in the same slot. Your pear shaders, nothing different than what you will see at Tandy or any Springfield or Weaver, wherever else you go into to buy your supplies. They all have them in the same section. So each tool doesn't have its own individual little cubby hole. They'll have 6 or 7 tools in one little box. You can do the exact same thing. But I will do a video on that, on the deer hide, in the near future. And I'm still keep checking my mic to make sure that my mic is still on. I had a problem earlier where it wasn't charged up enough. But let's get right off into this, ladies and gentlemen. Now, first things first. First leather tip of the day is your jeweler's rouge. Now, you can go to Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight sells the long tubes of the jeweler's rouge, which I got them over in my toolbox somewhere. And you can just break you off a 1 or 2 inch piece. Just take your knife and dig you a good line around it, and then it just snaps off clean. But here is the leather crafting secret that most leather crafters, they do it, but they won't tell you they do it. How do you keep your swivel knives and especially your ceramic and your rubies? Now, your ruby swivel knife, and I talked about that in another video, your ruby blade that goes in your swivel knife is super expensive. And you can't put that thing on a Dremel tool like you can do your metal blades, you know, where you can take you can take a Dremel tool, and I got a Dremel over there too, and I'll turn my Dremel on and get me some of the jeweler's rouge on there, and then I'll attach it to or touch it to my swivel knife. Now, the thing when you're doing it like that, you have to make sure that you use the same amount of pressure on both sides. You have 2 sides to your blades. So you want to make sure you put the same amount of pressure on both sides of the blade to keep that point at a great point, and it won't be offset. Now, especially when you're dealing with the ceramic and the rubies, once your blade point gets offset, there is nothing nobody can do to bring that back. And then you're out of another 30, 40 bucks. Now, your metal swivel blades, they can be trued up. You have to take them to a machinist to where they have a particular apparatus that they can put the blade in, and then they can put it on the wheel, and it'll grind it to both sides. And they go all the way down to the 1,000th decimal point. And they can really true that blade tip right back where it needs to be. But here is a quick, simple, efficient way. Jeweler's rouge, and you want to find you a scrap piece of leather. Let me turn this down because you want to put this on to the flesh side. The flesh side, not the grain. You want to go with the flesh side. And you make sure that those fibers are good and tight. And let me angle this down some. You want to make sure that those grains are good and tight. And what you're going to do is just rub this jeweler's rouge across your scrap. Oh, and it's going to get a lot. You guys can't see it, but let me turn this off a little bit. You guys might not can't see that, but you will see when you're rubbing that jeweler's rouge onto the leather, it's going to start to get a little slick. Now, this is old school crafting at its finest, and I'm going to tell you how far back this goes. You ever go to the barbershop and they have that big wide piece of belt blank that's attached to the barber's chair? And when he's taking that straight razor, and they'll whip that belt up, and he'll go to with that straight razor. That's because there's jeweler's rouge onto that belt blank in the barbershop. And what it's doing is it is keening up the edge on his straight razor. Now, they might not do that anymore because clippers and barbers have come a long way. So if you find you an old school barber that will give you a nice shave or a nice edge with that straight razor, you want to keep going to him. But that's how far back the jeweler's rouge and leather goes. And you can just put as much on here as you want, because when you get ready to, they call this stropping the blade. And what you want to do is the same amount of times you pull, never push your blade, pull it. So you can see where the angle is based on how the blade attaches to. Now, this is too far, that's up too high. You don't want to dull the tip. You want to get it at an angle, and you want to pull it. I generally pull mine 3 times on both sides. 1, 2, 3, and then I flip the blade over, and then I go 1, 2, 3. That takes off all of the dross and the calcium deposits off of your blade, whether it's the ceramic, ruby, or the metal. And then, I mean, you can take anything just to wipe it off. I generally just wipe it off with my shirt or a pair of jeans or whatever I have on, but you can find you a nice soft little cloth just to get the rouge off the end. Now, I should have cased this before I started talking, but I'm going to case it now, and then I'll just go ahead, and while this is casing, I'll just go ahead with the second tip. And what I'm going to be talking about now is drawing your design, getting your design ready for your leather. Now, this is going to be a part of the big cock trucker hats that I was telling you guys about. And this is just a efficient, a cost-effective way to preserve your patterns onto your transfer film. Now, you guys can see where I drew my big cock pattern on here. And that was taken off of the paper, which is somewhere around here. But I printed off my chicken. And then I put my tracing film over top of that, traced it out. But here is the tip. Packaging tape. Cellophane packaging tape will extend the life of your patterns. And you can go over and over and over these until, trust me, you will know when it's time to draw you another pattern. But I generally go and buy 3 yards of tracing film from Tandy at a time, and that can last me for, I'm going to say, I'm right now at the end of the rope, and this is all the film that I have left. This is all the film that I have left, and it's just clear. But I've had those same 3 yards for about a year and a half. And again, this is for those beginner crafters or intermediate crafters who are still not yet comfortable drawing straight onto the leather. Now, once you get to that level to where you're comfortable enough with drawing straight onto the leather, then you can eliminate your transfer pattern. Now, I do not recommend going the cheap way and going to Wally World and buying that blue tracing film. Do not do that. For the love of God and all things holy, dude, that will be an absolute nightmare. One, that blue transfer film, that ink doesn't come off of your leather. And if you're sitting there tracing in your pattern onto that leather and that blue dye smudges off onto the leather, you just absolutely ruined a project from personal experience. But get you some tracing film. And like I said, get you 3 yards. It's real cheap. It's less than $10 or right around $10 to get 3 yards. But it will last you a lifetime. Especially to give you long enough time to where you can get comfortable drawing your patterns onto the leather. Now, as far as like with the free beer logo, now this was a logo that was already drawn and designed. So in order to get it exactly like the customer's logo, I had to use the tracing film. So it will be exactly like his free beer mugs on his flyers and everything like that. I wish I had saved one where I could show you guys, but you guys get the gist of what I'm saying. So 3 yards will be perfect if you have customers who already have a logo and you're just using that. Even with my big cock, this is the design that I bought and downloaded. And I own this print now, but to make sure that it is exactly like the drawing that I paid for, I wanted to make sure that I stay with it. So the way you do that is to get you some clear packaging tape, and you want to go right over the top of the pencil side or the drawing side. Not on the non-drawing side. You want to go right over the top of the pencil side. So whatever side you drew on, that's where you want to lay your packaging tape down to. And let me just show you guys how we do this. And we're just covering this up. And you can overlap it a little bit. But you want to go in the middle, the center of your drawing as much as possible. And always, once you get into the habit of doing this, you always want to lay your tape in the same pattern. The same pattern that you're going to be drawing it on. So if you're right-handed, most right-handed people are going to draw or write from right to left or left to right. Now, when you're drawing, you're going to go opposite as you write. A right-hander will write left to right so they can see the letters of what they're writing. Left-handers tend to write, you're still writing left to right, but you're going to move yourself to where you can see your letters. So drawing is a little different because, like with this chicken, I'm going to be pulling, since I laid my center tape in the center, and then I went to the left, then I went to the right last, as you saw. So I have an overlap on both ends. So I have to make sure that I remember where my tape line is. So as I'm pulling my modeling spoon, or not modeling spoon, but my modeling point, I will know where the tip of that tape is. So my modeling point doesn't pull. My ball stylus, that's the name. My stylus point doesn't pull the tape. So I know I'm going to come off a piece, keep going, and as I hit that other tape, I want to go back to the left. So I want to go right to left so I don't start to curl my tape up. And I'll do this throughout the whole entire piece, which you guys will see later on. But this is just a good little leather crafter's secret. And I'm just going to cut this out. I want to cut it flush. I want to cut this flush so I can make sure that all of my tape is all the way to the edge. Boom. And then that way we can just pluck this out of here and don't have to worry about missing anything. Now, the great thing, one thing that I like about these little utility knives, you can break these little gizmos off. Once you get so far with them, you can just break those tips off and then just keep on rocking and rolling. Now, I don't want to bore you guys with watching me cut the tape off, so I'm going to probably just edit that part out. And you can see right there where I met the other tape, so I'm going to come back. Now, you're going to do the exact same thing when you are transferring this image to your leather. You're going to come back and do the exact same motion. That way, you don't have to worry about peeling your tape. Now, this will last me at least. Now, if I'm going to keep making a bunch of these, I will eventually call up my polyurethane guy, and I'll have him polyurethane this design onto a block, and then I can just stamp this in every hat that I make as opposed to carving each one. Now, I'll still do my backgrounding around the bird and all of that stuff, but at least that way I know it will stay a consistent size, shape, design, and it won't alter. Same thing to what I'm going to do with the free beer, because I'm finding myself starting to make a lot of these. The customers like the customer. He liked the guitar strap. He liked the lighter. So now we're going to the beer koozie, and I think this is going to be something that they are going to try to market as merchandise when they perform. So now I need to go ahead and call my polyurethane guy, and then have him make me a permanent stamp, so that way it's the same every time. All right, let's get off into this. Now this is cased. I have my swivel knife keened and ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to pull this down, and then you guys can see me get this done. I'm going to need the light. So I'll do some pre-checks. I'll stop periodically and let you guys see. Again, leather carving, ladies and gentlemen, is more about taking your time. Never be in a rush when you're carving. And the least stops that you make, the better your carving work will come out. You don't want to get in the habit of making a bunch of stops and starts, because it will reflect into your work. Now there are some cases that you can't help it, but where you can, do it. Definitely do it. Try to keep you one continuous long cut, and definitely it will be in your favor. And another reason why you want to take your time, you can give yourself time to stop and move your swivel without it cutting or making a whole bunch of burrs, what I call burrs, burr leather, burrs in the leather. You don't want the customer to be able to see where you stopped and started. Plus, you also don't want to make it extra hard. You will. What will happen is we tend to overwork our tools to cover up where our cuts from the leather came into effect. So where you can keep, and once this is something that you'll also learn to have to do, is to, when you're swiveling, using your swivel knife, there are going to be some sections in your work to where you're going to have to push it instead of pull it. Like here, I'm going to turn that in that glass and push it right up that line. Now you can work whichever way is best for you. Some crafters will turn the project, and then others, like myself, I will push it. It's just all in your comfort level. And it's all in how much you push, how hard, because you don't want to cut too deep, and you want your cuts to always be consistent. So practice, 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 practice. That's all what this business is about, is to practice. Keep your lines nice and steady. And if your leather is properly cased, this knife will glide smooth through your leather. Now, make 2, 3, 4 cuts, come back, strop it, 1, 2, 3, flip it over, 1, 2, 3. And you can see where the calcium deposits and the dross is coming off, because it'll start to turn your jeweler's rouge black. Good tip, good tip, good tip. And we're just going to wipe this off. And you can tell when you have uh, stropped it good enough, or you can also tell when it's time to stop and strop it, because your blade will drag. And you don't want your blade to drag. Once it starts to drag, then it's time to strop. That's how you'll know when it's time to strop. And then I'm just going to come right back here, cut that one. Now, one thing that I need to add real quick, when you're carving, and this is another crafting secret, when you're carving, you always want to keep in mind what is supposed to be raised and what's supposed to be pushed back. So when you're tooling, when you're doing your beveling work, what I'm going to do is like the top part of this here. Now let's get this. The top part of the beer is where it's like a foam and it's running over the cup. So I'm going to bevel around the bottom of this to where, when again, this is that manipulating the eye again. So I'm going to use my steep beveler and bevel at the base of the foam. So when I get ready to paint this, it's going to look like the foam. The eye is going to tell the brain. Translate this as the foam is running over the cup. And the excuse me, and that's going to come out and let you know. So especially when I start beveling, now I'm going to bevel around all of this to raise it up off of the background. So when I background inside of this circle here, the cups are going to be sitting on top. And that's the manipulation of how we use our beveling tools to manipulate those. Let me check my mic one more time and make sure that this is still on. Yep, we still on. So, and that's what we're going to do here. So I'm going to go in here and find my steep beveler, which we have that. Now I'm going to use my small maul on this one, not the big boy, because I just want to do some light tooling on this. So let me pause this video real quick. Okay, so now what I'm going to do here is take my small beveler. Actually, I forgot to do one step. I just got my small mallet. What I forgot to do was to cut out this circle along the cut out my circle around my artwork. So I'm just going to take my time again and cut this circle all the way around. Take your time. Definitely take your time, ladies and gentlemen. Because in leather crafting, an oops is a start over. So if you have an oops, that definitely means scrap that piece and start over. So you definitely want to, I can't stress, take your time enough. There's no hurry in this. This is why we charge what we charge. I'm going to strop this 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then once I get that, I'm going to put my protective sleeve back over top of that because that's my ceramic blade. And then I'm going to go to my bevelers. So, while I was pulling out my tools, I saw a cool design that I'm going to show you guys how to do that now. Put my ball stylus back. Definitely going to need that. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my steep beveler and I'm going to go around just give it some nice little love taps. I want to get a good burnish. Now, some crafters do a maul and not a mallet. I use a mallet. But I have two different size mallets. I have a 2 and then I have a bigger one that's an 8. And now this one here, I made this. Sometimes you can get lucky. And if you know somebody who deals with polyurethane, you can go and find some scrap pieces. This was whatever they were cutting out. They cut the circle out of whatever it was. I'm assuming it might have been a countertop or something. And what I did was picked it up, brought it home, had some fine grit sandpaper and got it nice and smooth. And I left the ends of it raw, just like when they cut it. And then I took my 3/8, it might have been a 3/8, drill bit, put that in a vise, drilled a hole, had an old hammer stick, and stuck that down in there, and you can shove it real tight. This is in there real tight. You guys can see it's not even all the way in there. But for what I use it for, I didn't need to put a set screw in here because this is when I do small work on a smaller grade of leather or a thinner grade of leather. So me really needing to put a lot of force and power behind this mallet, I didn't need. Now, some people use mauls. I guess they would work the same. I just always looked at that as some fancy man's way of saying that they have arrived in the leather crafting world. I mean, I don't know. My thing is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So I started out with a mallet. Even when you buy your beginner tools, it's still going to be that same, I'm just checking and making sure that my mic is still on. It's still going to be that same mallet. You're still going to get a mallet in your beginner set. So I just stuck with the mallet. Now I did drop down in the weight because I wanted to be able to tool on small stuff. So now we're getting ready to go to our artwork. And you guys are going to see me switch out bevelers from time to time and backgrounders because, again, we're manipulating the eyes on what's raised and what's not. So this is me separating and raising the entire artwork off of the leather. Taking my time, no rush, no fuss. And you can do a lot with these tools, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how it's going to look once we get it all raised. And then we'll go into a smooth beveler and separating the beer foam the beer foam from the mug itself. Okay, this is where I really need to be at my table because my table has better lighting, but I can record better videos here. It's all in 6 in one hand, 7 in the other. I mean, half a dozen in the other. And now, proper casing will give you the right amount of burnish look. That's what you want. So as your tooling is going to burnish and give you good impressions on your tool work. Again, this is where I love having, again, different size tools. And let me go here and get my smaller beveler. I should have pulled that out. Let me pause the video. Okay. Well, let me give you guys these tools as well so you'll know which tools I'm working with. I'm working with B802. That is the first backgrounder that I started to use around the inside of the circle and to raise up the artwork is the B802. And now I am going to my steep beveler, and you guys can see how steep that is. Let me get a piece of. Can you see how steep that is? That's a steep, smooth beveler. This is a smooth one here. And this is where I'm going to get in between the beer handles and this top piece of foam. And it's skinny enough, just small enough for me to get in between that foam. But I'm going to be able to raise up that beer foam. And then actually I'm going to take my pair. There's another steep beveler here. Let me see if you guys can. There's another steep beveler. It's not steep, but it is an angled beveler. But it also matches the checkerboard that I did around the outside of the first one. So I think I'm going to use that one because this point will get up in between the beer foam just like this one will. So you guys can see that. And it's going to be able to get up in there. I think I'm going to use that one. And I'm going to put that right in that heart of that foam and bevel that back. Boom. Now we're good. And let's keep going right with this one. There we go. Raised it up right enough. Now, anytime you're doing a tight curve, you want to make sure that you do a lot of rapid fires. So what I call rapid fires is because I don't want those tooling marks around that. I just want it to be straight raised. So now I'm going to take my smooth beveler. I'm going to use the steep one here. And let me give you this triangle one here. The triangle beveler that I went up in there is A as in apple, 117. A117. Now my steep beveler, now all of these are Tandy tools. My steep beveler is, and this is the smooth one, B as in boy, 935. 935. This is a craft tool Tandy, a steep smooth beveler, and I'm going to use this on right there where the foam of the beer is. I might should have cased this one more time. Oh no, that's going to be perfect. And what I'm doing here is raising that foam up off of the beer mug. And now I chose the steep one because I need that beer to be raised off of the top. I need the beer to be raised off of the top. And you guys will see that in here. And then I'm going to show you one more trick, and then we're going to go to the next piece while I recase this one. Sometimes I have to take my glasses off and get up close. Now we're going with the smooth one and not the checker one because, again, we're just manipulating the eyes on the piece. There we go. There we go. Now, I'm going to recase this because I'm going to show you a neat trick. Let me show you something real fast. I'm going to show you guys something real cool, and you can see how that turned out. You see how the foam is now raised higher than the mug? So what do we do about these little indentions in the mug? So if you've ever seen the old school beer mugs where they have those little ribs inside of the mug, I'm going to show you guys something real cool with just the modeling spoon. You see how narrow that modeling spoon is? I'm going to show you how we're going to draw some definitions with the ribs in the mug and the bottom of this beer mug here with just the spoon. If you keep this in mind, and I think I did this in another video, like if your face, see the creases, the jaw creases or the smile creases in my face. If you were doing this on leather work, you don't want to cut these. You don't want to cut this into your leather. Why is that? Because cuts means separation. If you always remember that, anything that you cut in leather, you're trying to draw a separation away from. Your modeling spoon, even around my eyebrows, like your brows here, these lines are not to be cut because it's not a separation. It denotes a fold or an incave. So you would take your modeling spoon and just push that leather down enough to where it will resemble the like the curls or the creases. They don't have to be cut. Even like in your smiles or your dimples or whatever. Those are just done with the modeling spoon. You do not need to cut those. Sometimes you can take, if you have a smooth enough beveler, that I wouldn't recommend using the Matador Mall to put that in there because it's going to give you a burnishing line. That's what tools do. They just don't do an impression. They give a burnishing line. That's why it's darker. You see the darkness around this? That's because as you're tooling it, it burnishes, it burns it. So that's why it leaves that dark line. So what I'm going to do here is just use the modeling spoon, and then we're going to go in and put those indents in. So let me case this real quick. Oh man, that's turned out great. So while that is casing, I'm going to go to the next project, which is my big cock hats. And just like I told you guys earlier, you just take you a hat, tape that off with the bend. Now you can see how much bigger the pattern is over the bill, right? That's because when you bend this, you want to go ahead and pre-bend your caps, whatever the style in your area is. Now, in Alabama, hey, they will A-frame a bill on a hat like nobody's business. So we bend that a little bit, tape it, and then I got enough to where I can trim that extra back so it will be perfectly even with the bill. I gave myself a little margin of error all the way around. So I got room to trim that up and put this into place. Now, but once I got my pattern down and I transferred this cereal box, I told you guys, hey, I use anything. Cereal box, you don't have to keep going out spending money on poster board. When you go through a box of cereal, mashed potatoes, pancakes, pancake mix, macaroni and cheese, break them boxes down and use them again. Minimize your spending. Ding. So, but once I got my pattern down, I came back and laid that down on some, this is 3 to 4 ounce. And I drew my pattern out. And now, here's the kick. When I laid my border line down, I gave myself enough room because I know I'm going to be cutting some of this excess off. But there is enough line in here also to when I run my stitching, when I do ready to do my chisel punch, I'm going to chisel punch close to this first border line. And then that way when I trim it up, it will not interfere with my stitches. So, but what we're going to do now is come back, since I've already showed you guys how to save your pattern. I'm going to come back and lay this down because I can see through the chicken. I can see through my tracing pattern, my tracing paper. I'm going to let me get you right here. I'm going to go ahead and lay down my pattern because I can see through my tracing film, so I know where my chicken is going to hit. Let me straighten this up a little bit. So that's going to fit just like that there. Move that over a little bit more. And I'm going to set something on this because now I'm going to come back with my painter's tape or masking tape. Actually, I think we're going to use a little bit of this painter's tape. Painter's tape don't leave a big residue. Masking tape, sometimes, if you're buying some of that cheap stuff, it will leave a residue line on your leather, which is not bad. You can get it off, but you don't want to have to fight with it and do a whole bunch of cleaning. So what I'm going to do here is raise this piece up. I'm just going to put my tape there. I'm going to flip that back so I can case it. I'm going to case it and let this, and you'll know when it's cased right. You can see the water starting to be absorbed in here into the leather. Maybe you guys go back and watch another video and see that. And then I'm going to set this off to the side. Close that down and put my tape there because I don't want that to move. That's going to stay there. And then I'm going to come right back to, this should be, yep, it's starting to draw back to the regular color. And now I'm going to come right back here with my backgrounding tool. Now the background, I'm using a bigger backgrounding tool here. And this is just a flat base, flat bottom. There we go. It's just squared. But it has a nice, it's all going to match the border tool, the background tool that I put. Now this one here is M as in Mary 885. Mary 885. And I'm just going to go around, I'm going to go all the way around this and background all of this in here. Get as far as up in there as I can. And I'm going to utilize all of my tool to cover as much space as I can. Because you don't want to sit here and be steady backgrounding and beating and beating and beating. So keep it consistent, keep it even, and it will all turn out real nice. Don't be in a hurry. And if you're worried about hitting it too hard, choke up on your mallet. See, the more it's out here, the heavier the end is. So it can make your impressions heavier. But if you want to make them just right, choke up on it a little bit, and you'll have a nice, even impression all the way around your piece. Especially as you get closer to the artwork, you definitely want to slow up. Slow up, take your time so you don't background into your artwork. Even around the edge, you don't want your tool to jump off of your line and tool on a part that's not supposed to be, the background, a part that's not supposed to be background. So take your time. Now, here's another secret. Don't put your tool on the leather when you're backgrounding. Don't put it on there. I always raise mine up just a hair because as I am hitting, I can drag easy because it's hitting just like a sewing machine needle. Now, if you're putting this on here and you're dragging it, you're going to drag your leather with it too. And then you'll see these drag marks into your leather. You guys can't see it, but let me see. You probably can't see it. But you don't want your tool to be all the way on the leather. It'll leave drag marks, and then that's too defined into your artwork. So pull it off just a little bit so when you're hitting it, it'll bounce back up. And it works just like a sewing machine needle. And then you won't have those drag lines in your work. Leather secrets, baby. Leather secrets. I love dropping the secrets and the tips. So you don't want that to reflect into your work. So pull that up just a little bit off of that so you can walk your tool. The only thing with doing that, especially when you get close to your artwork, you don't want it to bounce over into your artwork. So now you can get over here. As it gets close to your artwork, now you can put it in bop, 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 bop. Now you can put it down on top of the leather because you want it to stay there. But in your big open spaces, especially if you're doing a lot of Sheridan design, you want it to be, you want to leave it raised a little bit. And that's how we do it, ladies and gentlemen. And then it looks like this. You see, it's nice, even backgrounded work. Nice background, no drag lines, and none of that stuff is in there. Just by simply pulling that up off the leather, just a little bit, just by pulling it up. I mean, if you're at home, if you're in your shop or wherever, and you put it on there, you see how it makes the leather dip down in there. But when I back off of it, I just rest it a little bit. See? That's as far as I bring it up off the leather. Just enough to where I can see it to change the shape. So as I'm tooling, you see how it's flickering here? It's flickering there because I'm bringing it up off the leather to where I can tool and drag at the same time. And then all of my background work is nice and even. So take that little secret with you right there. And then now I'm going to come back with this modeling spoon like I told you guys. And I'm going to put that edge right in the inside of that crease. Inside of that line. And I'm just going to mash this down and work it back and forth in between each one. Now, I'm not turning my spoon all the way up on the side. I don't want to cut the leather. I want to lay it kind of like at a 45 almost. And then I'm pushing the leather down so I can make an indentation. That's all that I want to do is make an indentation. I want to indent that leather. Boom. That's it. And then I'm going to turn this around here. So I'm going to take the point and then I'm going to go right down into the bottom of that. And I'm just going to work my spoon back and forth inside that line. That's it. I just want to push it down. Push that leather down. So this is going to symbolize those ribs in an actual beer mug just by pushing that down. And then I'm going to go over here and do the same thing. Just push that leather down, take my point, and then I'm going to come right here, boom, boom. Just push that leather down. And then right here in this little bitty one, I'm just going to push that down with the spoon itself. I could use my big end too, because that's a tight space. But my bigger end of my spoon is wider. And then right here on the base of this cup, I'm just going to stay right inside of that crease, that line, and just push that down on one side. So now when I finish painting this, it'll look like you can see more of the bottom of this cup than you can this one. This is just to see more of the side. This is why its design is like that. So it's to symbolize that one of these is like, it's to symbolize that the mugs are like this. So one is flat, the other one is kind of tilted up, but they're pushed together. This is why we do these just like that. So let me push this down a little bit more. Now, inside the handles of these mugs, I'm going to come right back with my steep beveler. And you guys know a modeling spoon doesn't have a number on it. You just get a regular modeling spoon for that. But this steep beveler, which again, I already told you guys, this is the B995. B9, is that a 3 or an 8? Ooh, sweet Jesus. Yes, B935. B935 is the steep, smooth beveler. And I'm going to work this right inside. Well, no, let me do it this way. Because I can push this down with the modeling spoon. But I really want to separate that handle. So let's go here and just take our time. Now, I am going to completely burnish this all the way out because I want it to definitely separate from the rest of this mug. Now, I actually can take my small backgrounding tool. This is A104. And I can come inside of the mug with this one and just background that. And I don't have to worry about the beveling because it will match the outside of my, where I beveled on the outside, around the outside of this cup. And I'm just turning that and knocking that down. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice and pretty. See? There you go. Da, 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 da. I'm having a time with this light. But you can see as I backgrounded the inside of the handle, and now all matches the outside of the mug. So, now, so far, we are basically done with this. There's only one thing left, and then I'm going to let you guys have it. In the editing of this is actually a 1 hour video. You guys can't tell it, but by the time I get through cutting and chopping this down, it's going to be not an hour long. But the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, I'm going to put a nice rope or around the border. In this space here, I'm going to put a nice rope around that on the outside. Now, this design has been around for a long time. It's been around for a minute. So let me. Oh, I wish you guys can see that when it's wet. See how nice and burnished that is? So I'm going to let this case again while I tell you about this design. But it's called a ribbon, and it is done with, let me get a scrap piece and show you how this is done. I love doing this on some of my pieces. I don't do it to all of them, just a few. It's going to work great with this beer mug. But the tool that I'm going to use is F as in Frank 941. F as in Frank 941. Now, this particular tool is it's an angled beveler. You guys can see that. It has a nice little angle on it. Let me turn this the right way. There we go. Nice little, not too bad of an angle. It's not steep, but it has an angle, a point to it. And it is shaped just like a regular triangle. See that? Just a regular triangle. I'm going to get better at doing this so you guys can see what they look like. Actually, I might get one of these and just cut me a hole in it. Then I can slide it down and you can see it against the black background. But it's just a nice triangle beveler. And what I'm going to do is, to get that rope or twisted rope look, now you can do two different borders with this particular tool. You can do a twisted rope or you can do a ribbon. And it's all done with this tool, F914. If you guys are following any other leather crafters on social media or on YouTube, you will see this is how they use this particular tool. Great tool. It's not just used for background and things like that, but it is a great tool to use. These might be too far or might be too wide. Let me angle this down so you guys can see. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and put it in the line of my border tap. This is not coming out right. But I want this to give me a good impression. Might not work on this one. There it goes. I'm not going to do too many of these, just enough to give you the effect. Now, on the opposite side of this, can you see that? Yeah. On the opposite side, you can see all of my points are going this way. Boom, 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 boom. All of my points are going this way. They're going up. So on the opposite side, I'm going to turn my tool the other way and go down the other side. And you're basically going to put this in between each one. So You're going to go right in the center of your other two lines or your other two on the opposite side. This gives it that twisted rope appearance. Ha! And this is what it just comes to my head, man, when I was getting ready to tool that beer mug. And I said, oh, that'll be real cool because they're a country band and they have that nice country vibe to them. And I said that rope and cowboys and country just go hand in hand with each other. So I said that would be real cool to put around that beer mug Coozie. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see that? You see it kind of give that twisted look. Now, the closer these marks are to each other, the more it'll have, kind of like when you're looking at the Navy's rope or a sailor's or a Marine rope, when it has the two ropes twisted inside of each other. That's the appearance or the overall appearance it's supposed to have. Yeah. Is to have that twisted rope look. Now, the way to really get jazzy with that is to take your swivel knife and just cut an extra line to connect those. Boom. Not a deep line, just a subtle scratch. Basically a scratch. Just a scratch. So when you cut that scratch line in there, see, then when you come back to antique that, now you see how it's got that twisted look to it now? That's how we do that. And you're just running a diagonal line from this one to the one on the other side, and you're just scratching it. So now when you come back with either your oil, now when I oil this, it's going to really pop, because the oil is going to go in between those little scratches and make it be real dark. So, now you can take you can get the same effect with your modeling spoon. Just crease that line right there from each one to each one. Just crease a line there. And you're just pushing that leather back. So you're still getting the same effect. You see with the modeling spoon really made it twisted. That's how we do that. And that's done with the F914. So, hey, I'm going to let you guys go, and I'm going to get back to work to finish these up. So you guys stay tuned for the final pictures. I'm going to oil this. Actually, I'm going to tool it first, finish tooling it. And then probably the next video, I'm going to show you how you can match that, because these are corners here. And there is a way to do your corner borders to where it will not throw off your other outside border, and it will create a nice, cool secondary shape in your corners. Y'all stay tuned. I'll do that video tomorrow. Peace. Keep crafting.